And the rapper who sent me to sleep the quickest was... What if I told you there was a guaranteed way to fall asleep as soon as your head hits the pillow? Meet J. Cole. Okay, that may sound like a diss, and Metro Boomin certainly intended it as one when he tweeted it back in 2011, but music that makes you doze off isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, millions of people rely on rappers like Nav and Machine Gun Kelly to help them get their 8 hours every night. But I'm curious, which rapper sends you to sleep the quickest? To try and answer that question, I listened to 10 different artists over 10 different nights, and recorded my sleep using this wristband. This way, I got to see which rappers sent me to sleep the fastest and the slowest. To make sure my experiment was fair, I listened to each rapper on the same volume, and shuffled their music instead of picking the songs myself. So, without further ado, let's go through the results. Starting off in last place then, the rapper who sent me to sleep the slowest, with a time of 47 minutes, was Playboi Carti. On the face of it, Carti's low ranking on this list makes sense, as the majority of his recent releases and collaborations are loud hype tracks, not the type of music that would send you to sleep. However, in reality, the songs I listen to on the night don't really fit into that category. Timeless, Love Hurts, Flex, and the ironically titled Wokeuplikethis, for example, are all quite relaxing. And by the time that louder songs like No Sleep, Rockstar Made, and All Red did play, I was already asleep. Instead, I think there were other factors at play that made me struggle to drift off. Firstly, this was the first night of the experiment, so I was wide awake with excitement and anxiety. And secondly, this might sound a bit weird, but this was the only night that I wore wired headphones. The thought of those headphones somehow wrapping around my neck in the night and choking me to death while listening to Stop Breathing didn't really appeal. All of this culminated into my worst night's sleep of this video, and means that Playboi Carti lands himself in last place. Also, this has absolutely no relevance, but why do all of Playboi Carti's recent photos look like this? Just an observation. Anyway, ranking number 9 on my list of rappers to fall asleep to is 2 Hollis, who sent me to sleep in 32 minutes. If you don't know who 2 Hollis is, he's the guy behind gentle songs such as... and... so I wasn't expecting to nod off particularly quickly. After shuffling his music, the first song that played was Gold, a typical 2 Hollis song, followed by You Once Said My Name for the First Time. I was pleasantly surprised by the serene and relaxing nature of this track, and about ready to fall asleep, until... Strangely though, it wasn't the music that kept me from falling asleep, or my headphones as I'd switched to AirPods after night 1, I just couldn't seem to get comfortable. Next up, in our number 8 spot, is Travis Scott, who sent me to sleep in 26 minutes. I'm quite surprised that it took that long, as I thought Travis's soothing and ethereal music would have had me snoozing straight away. But, in fairness, the songs that played weren't that relaxing. First up was Travis's new song, 4x4, followed by Active and Get Off Me, none of which are very calming. Get Off Me, in particular, includes a shouting DJ drama feature, which wasn't ideal. By the time I got to sicko mode though, I was out like a light.
I understood that reference.
However, I did wake up in the middle of the night with an AirPod embedded in my back, so that was fun. In 7th place, we have another person who I'm surprised to see this low, 070 Shake, who took 20 minutes to send me to sleep. Although Shake is more widely known for her collaborative work with Kanye and Ray, her own music is just as noteworthy. It's spacey and atmospheric, perfect to fall asleep to. Things started off nicely, with the aptly titled Under the Moon, followed by some tracks from 2016, which I hadn't heard before. On the one hand, I feel like listening to music you don't know piques your interest and keeps you awake. But on the other, music that you've not heard can sometimes sink into the background more easily compared to the tracks that you know and love. Whatever the case, I kept listening until I got to the song Lungs, which, despite not sounding like a song that would send you to sleep, seemed to do the job. Next, with a time of 16 minutes, is Kendrick Lamar in 6th place, which is fitting seeing as Kendrick owns the 6. This night, the first song that played was King Kunta, followed by Not Like Us and Loyalty, 3 of the catchiest songs in Kendrick's discography in 3 totally different ways. It's kind of hard to fall asleep when you're singing along to the lyrics in your head, but after the first few songs, Kendrick's music took a turn down a more conscious route. His complex lyrics about social injustice, institutionalised racism, and the political and economic state of the world right now were equally hard to fall asleep to, as I was trying to take it all in. But despite this, I still managed to conk out after a respectable 16 minutes. In at number 5, and marking the halfway point, is J. Cole, who sent me to sleep after just 12 minutes. I guess Metro Boomin was right. Weirdly, and rather fittingly, 2 of the songs that played this night, Neighbours and Deja Vu, both mention dreams.
But I'm back on the scene, I was lost in a dream as I write this a teen down in Austin. At times I feel as though I'm caught up in a strange dream.
But, if anything, the chorus on Neighbours was more likely to give me nightmares.
I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope.
That shit is f***ing trash, dog. Get the f*** off the airwaves.
Middle Child, a song I haven't listened to in years, also played this night, and I realised how badly this lyric has aged. Luckily though, nothing from Might Delete Later appeared in my shuffle, so I was able to get to sleep relatively unscathed. The next 3 rappers, who fill spaces 4, 3 and 2 on my list, all sent me to sleep in exactly 10 minutes, so I've decided to rank them based on how deep my sleep was on the night, a stat that I can see in the Sleep Tracker app. Coming in at the number 4 spot then is Drake, whose music made me sleep deeply for 16% of the night. Now that we have Drake's score, we have a definitive ranking of the so-called Big 3 based on whose music is the sleepiest. Kendrick is most likely to keep you awake, J. Cole, as always, is mid, and Drake will send you to sleep the quickest. Anyway, enough about the big 3, let's talk about my night of sleep, which kicked off with Jimmy Cooks, followed by Pop Style. Pop Style has one of Drake's most infamously bad lyrics, and a lyric that, with recent context, is somehow worse. Next up was From Time, which is the perfect track to fall asleep to, and sure enough, I did. Speaking of Drake, in our number 3 spot we have Youngboy, who, once again, sent me to sleep in 10 minutes. 10 minutes might not sound like very long, but in that time, Youngboy released 3 albums and had 2 more children. The first song that played this night, Make No Sense, is a track that I actually quite like. After that though, it was one bad song with painful singing after another. Overall, Youngboy's music made me sleep deeply for 18% of the night, an improvement on Drake's music, but not as high as the person in our number 2 spot. Nav, aka India's answer to tinnitus, sent me to sleep in 10 minutes, and helped me spend 20% of my night in a deep slumber. Seeing as I talk badly about Nav's music quite often, it was inevitable that he would rank highly on this list, and now I have more ammunition to push my agenda against him. Anytime anyone brings up Nav from now onwards, I can say, with scientific proof, that his music is sleep-inducing. But, unfortunately, he isn't the most sleep-inducing artist I listen to. That title goes to the person in my number 1 spot, Cardi B, with a time of 9 minutes. The first track that played this night was Jealousy, which is my favourite type of Cardi B song, an Offset song. Next was I Like It, another song that I don't mind, at least for the first 90 seconds, after that it gets a bit old. Following those songs though, everything that played afterwards was just bad. It's interesting that, out of all of the rappers on this list, the one I listen to the least ranks the highest. But it makes sense. If you don't like someone's music, you'll want to fall asleep quickly, so you don't have to hear any more. And with that, my experiment is complete. I spent 10 nights literally sleeping on rappers, all in the name of science. And here's my conclusion. If you want to stay awake at night, play some Playboi Carti, ideally through wired headphones. That impending sense of asphyxiation is sure to do the trick. If you want to fall asleep quickly, listen to some bad or boring music. Anything from Cardi B or Youngboy will do, and J. Cole's results speak for themselves. But whatever you do, stay away from Nav. Yes, his music will send you to sleep quickly, but is it worth it? You have to listen to Nav. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And my worst enemy is Nav.